name is Taylor Paddleford, and I live in northern Maine. Until I was 16 years old, my parents both struggled with substance use disorder. I also didn't get to meet a sober version of them until that time. There were many times where I would have to call my friends to either come get me or just to see if I could stay in their houses that night, just because things weren't safe at mine. And every time I needed that, I was greeted with welcoming arms by all my friends' parents and my friends, of course. There was never a time where I was denied that. At times we had people living with us that I didn't know or trust, for that matter, living in the room right next to me. We also didn't always have food in the fridge or necessities throughout the house. When I was in high school, I can remember crying before going to school all the time. I eventually decided to go to an alternative education program rather than through the regular high school, and that was a big improvement for me. It definitely helped to get the things that I needed to done, and it's the only reason that I was able to graduate. It only takes one adult to change a child from going down the wrong path. Aside from my grandmother, I did have other adults that I would turn to. My grandmother had passed away because of her lung cancer by the time that I got to high school, so I had started taking more care of myself where my parents were absent. I started working when I was 15 years old. I got my work permit to work at a local and close to home restaurant diner. I tried to avoid going home until it was time for my curfew every single night. And it was at that diner that I was working at where I met my boyfriend, who also worked there. Over the last few years of my parents' addiction, they got into more dangerous substances. While I didn't know the extent of their use, I found out later that heroin and meth had become very controlling in their lives and bringing dangerous things into our home. Sometimes those things were people. At times we had people living with us that I didn't know, and we already didn't have a lot to eat in the fridge or usually even necessities throughout the house. The height of the chaos and fighting in our family home culminated in the fall of 2018. There was an early morning incident where my parents got into a physical fight, and the police were called. My dad was taken away in handcuffs and he could not return home. Soon after that, I was kicked out of my home and forced to find my own way because I didn't want to pay rent at 16. And this is where everything began to change for me. Both of my parents left the area for rehab on November 3rd, 2018. I was living with my boyfriend at his parents' house at the time and had to be responsible for myself. At the end of November, early December, we got our first apartment together. While we were living in that apartment, I applied for Emancipation at the age of 17. It was granted to me without any hesitation by the judge. Today, I work as a supervisor for the Efficiency Maine call center, where I've been for a year and a half, working from home. My boyfriend and I live in the house that we bought ages 18 and 21 with our 5 pets. We have 4 cats and a dog. In my spare time, I tend to my 50 plus types of houseplants. Taking care of them reminds me to take care of myself, of course, with the sunlight and water. And while I have not fully healed from all of my past traumas, I will be working on that every day of my life.